Hey, I'm Jay. I'm a mixing and mastering engineer, and today we're going to take a look at surround sound in Davinci Resolve. Now, quick disclaimer, two things before we get started. First, I don't work with surround sound a lot. Most of the work that I do is either in music, mixing pop punk, which is stereo, and the video work that I do for clients is typically other creators who aren't really interested in doing surround sound. So most of my work is in stereo. So past the technical know-how regarding surround sound in Davinci Resolve, I'm not going to have a lot of pro tips or hidden hacks or anything like that. Also, because this is a beginner's guide, we're going to work with Dolby 5.1 because it's kind of the easiest surround sound setup to wrap your head around. Before we actually dive into Davinci Resolve and take a look at how to work with surround sound, let's make sure that we understand what surround sound is and what the 5.1 means in Dolby 5.1. It's really easy to wrap your head around. Actually, the 5 stands for your normal speakers, your left, right, and center speakers. So in 5.1, you have a left, a right, and a center speaker in the front of the room, and you have a left surround and a right surround in the back of the room. Those are your 5 left, right, center speakers that make up the 5 in 5.1. The 1 represents your subwoofer or your LFE channel, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in this video. In a Dolby 5.1 setup, there is 1 subwoofer. So 5 left, right, center speakers, 1 subwoofer. And while we're not going to cover this today, you should probably know that in a lot of setups, you also have a third number after the 1 that represents your overhead speaker. So let's say you had your 5 left, right, center speakers, you had your 1 subwoofer, and you had 2 overhead speakers, then that would be a Dolby 5.1.2 setup. All right, let's dive into Davinci Resolve and get a Dolby 5.1 project set up. I've already got a project open, and in project settings, there's actually nothing to do. You're just going to use your normal project. What you need to change is something in your timeline. So I have a timeline. It's completely blank right now. All I'm going to do is come up to Fairlight and go to bus format. Now, currently, my main bus is a stereo bus. That is default for all Davinci Resolve projects unless you change something in your preferences. But I want a 5.1 bus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the drop-down box where it says stereo, and I'm going to go down to 5.x and go to 5.1. You will notice that there is 5.1 and 5.1 film. The difference is really simple. It's just the order of the channels in a surround sound file. So Dolby 5.1 is left, right, center, and Dolby 5.1 film is left, center, right. It is important to know that if you are making a surround sound video for YouTube, that you should be using 5.1 and not 5.1 film. The next thing you want to do is come up to Davinci Resolve, open up preferences, and go to video and audio I/O, and you're going to uncheck automatic speaker configuration. Then you're going to come down to format. You're going to change it from stereo to 5.1, and you're going to go down and you're going to designate which speaker goes to which channel or which channel goes to which speaker. So my left and my right would be my main speakers, and I'm currently set up for stereo, so I actually don't have any other speakers set up. But if you had a surround sound set up in your mixing room, or if you were, I don't know, mixing from your couch in your living room and you had a surround sound system in there, you could designate which channel goes to which speaker. I'm just going to go back to automatic speaker configuration and hit save. One other thing I want to cover regarding project setup. If you come back into Fairlight and you go to bus format, you don't have to just stick with a 5.1 bus. You can add a bus, make it stereo. And in fact, what I would do, just because, I don't know, it feels better, is you can come and make bus 1 stereo, bus 2, your 5.1 mix, and then hit OK. And then if we go into the Fairlight page, you'll see we have bus 1 and bus 2. And I'm just going to create some tracks here. add tracks, just do 6 tracks below audio 1. We'll make them all mono. Actually, above the first track, make them all mono. Add tracks. There we go. So here I've got 6 tracks of audio, and if I wanted to route them to both my stereo and my surround sound, they're already routed to my main bus. All I need to do, click on audio track 1, shift click on audio track 7, and then I'm going to hold down Alt on my keyboard. I'm going to click the plus button in bus outputs, and I'm going to select bus 2. And now all of my tracks are routed to both my stereo bus and my surround sound bus. And while I'm mixing, all I have to do is come up here below my preview window, and I can choose which bus I'm listening to, whether it's bus 1 or bus 2. One other thing we can do for good measure is come up to Fairlight, bus format, and we can rename our buses. Stereo out 5.1. Okay. So that way when we come into our mixer, we can see, oh, here's my stereo out bus and here's my 5.1 bus. The cool thing about doing it this way is when we go to export, if we wanted to, we could actually export a video that has both the stereo and the 5.1 track embedded. But it's important to note that if you are creating surround sound and you are planning to upload the video to YouTube, YouTube doesn't support a stereo and a surround sound track being embedded in the video. If you upload a video that has that done to it, it's going to keep the stereo and trash the surround sound. So if you're going to upload to YouTube, you want to make sure that you have a video that only has the surround sound audio on it, and that is what you will upload. I will say this, in many cases, especially at the creator level, do not recommend having your stereo mix and your 5.1 mix in the same timeline. And the reason why is because the majority of places you are going to deliver your video to are either only going to accept 5.1 or they're only going to accept stereo. And your stereo mix is going to sound a lot better if you make a dedicated stereo mix. So what I would do is make your surround sound mix, then duplicate the timeline, change the bus to stereo, and adjust your mix accordingly. That way you have the best possible surround sound mix for the places where you want to deliver your surround sound to, and you have a dedicated stereo mix for the places where you want to send the stereo version to. You get the best of both worlds. It's a little bit of extra work, but unless you are delivering to a platform that requires you to have both embedded in the same video file, I would keep them separate. All right, now that all of that is out of the way and we've got our project set up, let's actually take a look at a mix that I created in preparation for this video. This is a little mix that I put together to illustrate how to mix surround sound in Davinci Resolve. There's no video attached to it. It's literally all just audio. I've got it set up on a stereo bus and a 5.1 bus, which I haven't labeled. So let's go ahead and do that. Stereo out, 5.1. And there we go. And one really cool thing to note is that every single piece of audio on this timeline, even the dialogue, is from today's sponsor, Motion Array, which is a huge library of assets that you can use in your video editing projects. And I'm not just talking about music and sound effects. I'm talking about AI voiceovers, which I used in this timeline. I'm talking about stock footage, images, project templates, effects, all kinds of stuff. They've even got a built-in collaboration platform, which makes collaborating with brands or other creators super easy. They've just revamped their layout, which is a lot cleaner than it used to be. It makes finding the assets that you want a lot easier. I mean, I found all of these little office sound effects, the fan and the mouse clicks and the keyboard. I didn't even really have to search for anything. I clicked on a category and they were just there. And then when I downloaded them, I thought I was downloading an individual sound effect. Nope, I was downloading a sound effect pack, which means every time I download a sound effect, I'm getting multiple versions to choose from when I go to edit my video. It's super handy. Plus, they have a similar tracks feature, so when you find a sound effect you like, you can really easily find similar stuff. Same thing with music. Not to mention, there's over 50 plugins that you can use with Davinci Resolve, Premiere, After Effects, Final Cut, even Vegas. Oh, and did I mention LUTs? They've also got LUTs, just in case you need some color grading inspiration. Basically, Motion Array has anything you could possibly need in order to finish your next project. So click the link below, try out Motion Array for free, and when you realize that it's amazing, you can go ahead and upgrade to a paid plan. You'll get a discount for clicking on the link below, and you'll be helping out this channel. So win-win. Thanks so much to Motion Array for sponsoring this video and for continuing to support creators like me. And now let's jump into Davinci Resolve and take a look at this mix. One thing that you will notice is there is not a single surround sound track in this mix. And that is I feel like that's a big deal that I need to point out, because when I watch surround sound tutorials regarding Davinci Resolve, for some reason, and I don't understand why, but for some reason, there's this big misconception out there that in order to mix in surround sound, you need to be using surround sound tracks, and that is just not the case. In fact, you shouldn't be doing that, because it locks you into your panning. As soon as you add a sound effect to a surround sound track, it's locked into that channel. There's no panning. So if you want footsteps walking from back to front, you actually can't do that panning within a surround sound track. So don't worry about adding surround sound tracks to your timeline. The only time you need those is if you are working with a video that already has a surround sound track embedded in it. In that case, you'll want a surround sound track in your timeline. Otherwise, you're working with mono tracks and stereo tracks, and that's it. And it's just like mixing a stereo project. You just have more options for panning, and leveling things out takes some getting used to. Other than that, it's exactly the same, with one exception, with two exceptions that we're going to go over in just a minute. First, I just want to show you and prove to you that you don't need these surround sound tracks inside of a surround sound timeline. If I play this, remember, this is all mono and stereo tracks here. I have panned each one of the tracks to different spots, and you will see in the monitor right up here in control room, I can't make this any bigger, unfortunately, but the control room and the loudness, you will see that we have audio coming to the appropriate channels.
Well, here I am, my first day on the job. To be honest, it wasn't my first choice of careers, but it's no big deal. I've got plenty of time to do what I actually wanted to do with my life, right? Okay, deep breath. Here we go.
And there you go. We've got sound coming out of all the appropriate channels. Everything panned to the left is coming out of the left. Everything panning to the right is coming out of the right. Everything's where it's supposed to be, and I don't have any surround sound tracks. So if you have been under the impression that you need surround sound tracks in your surround sound project while you're mixing, you don't, okay? You don't. You're welcome. Now, remember earlier, I said that there were a few key differences between mixing in stereo and mixing in surround sound. The importance of mono tracks when you are mixing in surround sound is paramount. I've gotten so much grief when I have said that you should be using mono tracks for mono sources in the past. The comment section has gone absolutely nuts over this topic. I don't understand it. I don't know why. But when it comes to mixing surround sound, the use of mono tracks is really, really, really important. And here's the reason why. I've got this music track right here. It is a stereo track. I am going to solo it so I can illustrate what I'm talking about. And I am going to open up my panning. Actually, let's go ahead and do this with my crowd track, which is another stereo track, but we're going to go ahead and do it with the crowd track because I've got some LFE stuff on my music. Now, what I want you to do is pay attention to the stereo out meter here and take a look at what happens when I pan the crowd noise, which is a stereo track, left and right. You see what happened there? Even if it was panned all the way to the left, I was still getting audio out of the right channel. And if I panned it all the way to the right, I was still getting audio out of the left channel. When you have a stereo track and you try panning it left and right, you can never truly go all the way to the left or truly go all the way to the right. It just raises the volume of one channel over the other. So if you had maybe a stereo footsteps file and you wanted to make those footsteps sound like they were walking from left to right, you might pan from left to right, but you're still going to have footsteps on the left side, and that's going to sound unnatural. So when you are working with surround sound and you're working with panning things and placing individual sound effects within a surround sound environment, within a three-dimensional environment, you need to be working with mono sound effects so you can place them where they need to be placed. And speaking of panning, let's take a look at that. Right now, I have a static mix. Every single one of my tracks is just panned to a specific location because they are stationary sound effects. Nothing is moving. We've got, somebody writing with a pencil. We've got an office printer. We've got a random drone, which is going to come into play here in a minute, I promise. We've got an electric fan, some mouse clicks, stuff like that, stuff that's not going to be moving around this scene. But I also have a track here with footsteps. Now, currently, those footsteps are not panned at all. It's just footsteps directly up the center channel, which does not sound right. Let's make it so that this first set of footprints is walking back to front on the left, and then this one is walking from front to back on the right. To do this, we're going to have to work within the automation system of Davinci Resolve. I've done a whole video on this. You can check it out if you want. But for now, let's just make sure automation is turned on. That is this icon here. We're going to make sure that automation enables panning. So click pan. And we are going to make sure on stop is set to hold, touch is set to off, and we're in write mode. Then we're going to come and extend our track just a little bit. We're going to make sure our drop-down box is set to pan, left, right pan. And we're not going to record any automation today. We're just going to set some keyframes. What we're going to do is we are going to pan all the way up to the left. We're going to set a keyframe somewhere in between these two tracks. All you have to do is hold down Alt, mouse over the automation line and click. We're going to set another keyframe and we are going to pan all the way to the right. Set one more keyframe and there we go. And now come back, solo this, unsolo the crowd. You'll hear footsteps on the left and then footsteps on the right. And there you go. Next, we are going to change our drop-down box to front back pan, FB. Right now, everything is up front. We want this first one to be going back to front. So we're going to bring our automation line down. We're going to set a keyframe right at the beginning of the clip and another one right at the end of the clip. Grab that second keyframe, pull it up, and another keyframe at the beginning of this clip, pull it up. Another keyframe at the end of this clip, pull it down. And if I come to my footsteps, I open up panning. I'm going to open up 3D panning back to the beginning of the timeline. So what we'll do is come right here. And what you'll see is that the signal is going from back to front and then front to back on the right. So this is much easier to do if you have a control surface and you can just record automation. It's a lot faster, but keyframes is a way to do it. The last thing that I want to cover in the mixing portion of this video is LFE, or low frequency effects. This is a specific channel in your surround sound track that sends signal to your subwoofer. But in order for that to happen, you actually have to tell Davinci Resolve which tracks are going to send that signal to the LFE channel. And it's actually really, really easy to do, and you can do it with as many tracks as you want. For example, I want both my drone track and my music track to send the signal to the LFE channel so that everything below, I think 120 hertz, if I remember correctly, everything below 120 hertz is going to be sent to that subwoofer, and everything else will be heard through the left, right, center speakers. So let's take a look at the drone track. As an example, we're going to go ahead and open up my drone, and you'll see in the panning tool, there's a little feature called boom. Boom is those super low frequencies, that's 0 to 100 or 120 hertz. This is what gets sent to the LFE channel, and you can determine how much and how loud that boom should be on each track. So I've got it activated on the drone channel, and if I go over to music, you'll see I've also got it in my music. And we're going to play the mix, and you're going to see that I think the fourth channel over is LFE, and you'll see every so often the fourth channel like really gets up there, and that's because of the drone. And then it'll go down, and you'll just have a small signal that's from the music, but something is currently soloed. There we go. Try that again.
Well, here I am, my first day on the job. To be honest, it wasn't my first choice of careers, but it's no big deal. I've got plenty of time to do what I actually wanted to do with my life, right? Okay, deep breath. Here we go.
So you'll see that the music and the drone tracks are sending the lowest of the low frequencies to that LFE channel to be fed into the subwoofer. But I have it set up in a way that those sound effects are still heard in the stereo mix as well, so you don't lose all of that boominess and all of that bass. You can recreate some of that with some creative compression and EQ. One thing that I want to show you though, in this boom section here, there's a very important hidden little feature. If you hold down Alt and you click on Pre, you'll see that you have a hidden button called Only. If Only is selected, then the entire signal is only going to be sent to LFE, which means it's going to completely disappear in the stereo mix. So if you have like a low droning sound effect that you still want to be heard in the stereo mix, make sure that Only is unchecked. All right, last thing to cover is delivery. Let's look at how to export surround sound, and it's actually really easy. The preset that you use here doesn't matter. It really kind of depends on where you're delivering your video to. So let's say we're making a surround sound video for YouTube. So come over to YouTube, YouTube 2160 works. So click on that, and we just got to make sure audio is 5.1, and we'll be exporting our 5.1 video. If we want it to be stereo, we just make sure audio is our stereo bus, and then you're good to go.